Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
So Caitlin Clark of Iowa, but now playing for Indiana in the WNBA, gets honored in time as the athlete of the year. I don't know. I guess they need a lot of covers or something. I mean, whatever. They just want people who are going to sell their shitty magazine. So,
well, it's funny that Megyn Kelly says this, that Time Magazines needs coverage to sell their shitty magazine, but she didn't say this when they put Trump on the cover as person of the year, which that's debatable too, because there are other people that I feel was way more deserving of that. But she didn't say anything about Trump being on there, and that was announced like around the same time. So I find it very interesting that she didn't have smoke for that, but carry on.
She gets selected as athlete of the year. And what does Caitlin Clark do? Like this woman who's a superstar. She's the Michael Jordan of the WNBA.
Oh my God, if they do not stop telling that lie. They don't like black people, but you want to compare a white woman to a black man who has earned everything. Not saying she's not going to earn everything, but she just got here. Again, these are the same people that don't like black people, but can't wait to compare them to our greats. Despite how you may feel about Michael Jordan, one thing you can't say or deny is that he was one of the best people to pick up a ball. You can't compare Caitlin Clark to any of these male athletes, to be honest. Notice how they immediately go to comparing her to male athletes. They love comparing her to other men, not to other women. Y'all, this is gonna be a long 10 minutes, y'all. This is gonna be, we only 31 seconds in. This is gonna be a long 10 minutes.
And she's become a phenom in part because the players of the WNBA can't fucking stand her.
Oh, Megyn, spicy. You hear that mouth on her? Now, mind you, this is a woman with a law degree. And she up here talking with other players that can't stand her. We know that, Megyn, we know that you probably want to say something else. You probably want to call them B's. You probably want to call them the B word. She probably want to pull a Don Imus. Let her talk. She probably has, maybe behind the scenes. But we know that Megyn Kelly's talking about the black players. That's who she has to be talking about.
Why? Mm-hmm. Because she's white. It's abject, absolute.
But I thought y'all didn't care about race, though. You know what? Like I said, I still am iffy on Caitlin Clark, mainly because of her so-called fans. But this is exactly why I'm glad she did it. I'm glad she did it because it exposed this. For months, since the last year, we have been saying that her fans are flaky. They are shady. But she says this and it exposed them. I'm so glad that she did. Because they weren't going to get it from us. It had to come from her.
Absolute racism. It's total racism. And one of the things that's been admirable about Caitlin is she just continues to play her game and put points on the board. And she does very well, and she wins games, and she puts butts in the seats, and she sells tickets, and she gets people tuning in on television. And all really we want to hear from anybody about this is thank you. Thank you to Caitlin Clark for making our league relevant and so on. But instead, she's been bullied repeatedly by the players in this league. She's been assaulted physically. She's been scratched in the eye. And I mean...
Oh, Megyn, cry us all a river, okay? Enough to put a boat on it and stream down and go downstream. Hopefully over a waterfall. 1 minute and 19 minutes in. Doesn't it sound like victimhood that Megyn Kelly's playing in? But you know, they're not going to call it what they're doing as victimhood. They're not going to call it that.
All this is on camera. We've covered it repeatedly on the show. So she gets this honor. And all she has to do is continue staying above it. Thank you. I'm grateful. Love being in the WNBA, and I love my colleagues who I play with, my teammates. That's it. Instead, she decides to go racial. And what she says is she feels the need to acknowledge her white privilege. Basically, she's sorry she's white. She feels really bad.
Again, she never Again, she never said that. This is hilarious. This is funny, but she never said that. She never said that.
Bad about it though, so you should give her a pass. And then she makes a point of saying the ones we really need to be celebrating are the black women on whose backs this league was built, which I have to tell you is so condescending.
It really
It's
is.
true that most of these black women have been bullying her and want her to understand it's their league. Hello, you don't own the league. Blacks don't own the league, just like whites don't own tennis or golf. Nobody owns the league. This is America. Anybody can play if they're good enough.
Did you just hear what she said? Like, again, I'm telling you, anti-blackness will make them say and do and act very erratic with everything she just said in like the last 10 seconds. I'm telling you, Megyn is on the cusp of wanting to say the N-word so badly. She, like I said, she probably has, just not on camera.
But they want her on the knee. You'll bend the knee and you'll apologize for being white, and you will suck up to the black women who built this league before you, or you will be beaten. You will.
Now y'all see why I said Megyn Kelly was the worst one out of all of them, even worse than what Jason Whitlock said. That's why I said she was the worst one. That's why I saved her for last.
Be assaulted and you will be bullied with no friends.
Meanwhile, when Angel Reese was talking about all the threats she received, where was all of this concern then, Megyn? Or what about the other players that were being harassed or stalked or whatever? She had nothing to say then, and we know why. We know why she didn't say anything. Megyn was probably saying, oh, they probably deserved it because of how they treated Caitlin Clark. I know she said that.
So she does it. She finally did it. She bent the knee, self-flagellated over white privilege, and look at the black women in this league. And I have to tell you, if I were a black woman in that league, I think I'd say, screw you.
Megyn Kelly, you wouldn't be a black woman in that league because for you to wake up as a black woman would be a nightmare. For you. Megyn Kelly does not wish to be a black woman. So why she even use that as a scenario is beyond me.
Because Don't treat me like I am the ugly stepsister and you are Cinderella, and no prince is going to look at me unless Cinderella says, oh, give her a little time. Oh, put her in the spotlight for a moment. I would be offended, genuinely offended by her. Like, look over there. Look at them. They're not white.
Megyn, your face offends me, and I'm sure everyone in this chat.
They did a lot too. And here's the other thing. It's totally insincere. And here's how you know it's totally insincere. Because if Caitlin Clark really felt uncomfortable in the spotlight as the newbie who's white, because white people didn't build the league, she wouldn't have said yes to being Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. So either walk the walk or don't. But what you're doing here is trying to have it both ways. You're too cute by half, and you've managed to piss off your fan base. Go ahead and look at my Twitter feed and the comments under my tweet on this. She's lost thousands of fans, maybe more.
Well, like I said, she might have lost all these fans, but the thing is, they aren't putting money in her pocket. What have I told y'all? When they get in the league and they sign these contracts, the contracts are from the league itself. It's not from the fans. So if this woman also has endorsements, which I'm sure she definitely has some, especially with her being the #1 draft pick, and then she got that Rookie of the Year, and now she's quote unquote Time Athlete of the Year. I'm sure she's got endorsements. So again, it's going into the territory of something that they use with black people saying, oh, you didn't get this far because without us. It's like, no, they didn't get far with you. They actually got far without you. And they have endorsements on the back, and they're good. As long as they properly invest and got their money right, they're going to be good without you. But like I said, it goes into that territory of, oh, you're not going to get very far without us. So what if she lost, quote unquote, thousands or hundreds of fans? They weren't fans to begin with. That's the whole point. That's why I said now the real fans of the WNBA can watch the games in peace. Now, what will be hilarious is next year when she plays, what the turnout is. Imagine if the turnout is going to be higher than it was this year. They're going to spin the block and they're going to say, oh, those fans are woke. They're supporting this woke woman. Watch. That's what they're gonna do. And shout out to the fundraiser for the two. They said they were only her fans due to racism and bigotry. Exactly, but they won't come out and say it, but we know what it is. Megyn Kelly is pretty much displaying it right here.
As a result of this, and you will never appease the race.
Beautiful Afro woman. I have a joke behind that, not because of Trump, about Megyn bending the knee. Is it bend the knee like she used to hate Trump, but then votes for him? What a freaking hypocrite. Oh, I'm sure Megyn has bent the knee quite a bit, if you know what I'm saying. Maybe not to Trump. You know what? Let me just press the play.
Bullies in the WNBA ever, because you're too popular, you're too talented, and too white. That's it.
That's what you summarized it up to. It has nothing to... This is funny. This is funny watching them literally crash out like this. This is hilarious.
Well, I think you completely nailed it. As soon as I saw that statement from her, I was incensed, because it was only a couple of days earlier I'd been telling Duncan's from Indiana. I was like, wow, I see all these clips of this player you've got. She's amazing. She's done great. And I've been following during the season her getting bullied by all these other players who are jealous of her, who are jealous of her success. And meanwhile, these statistics would come out where all the road games where she plays sell out. They're the best selling games of the season is when she comes to town. And for her to turn around and bend the knee to these people who've been bullying her, like you said, it's never going to be enough. It's not just her.
This is what I mean when I tell you how they twisted. She did not bend the knee. She did not apologize for being white. She just acknowledged she had a privilege. I didn't know that translates to an apology. She was just acknowledging that Black women built the league. She's giving them their props because she knows they won't get it any other way. They literally expose themselves. And the crazy part about it is they have no shame in what they're saying. None. They mean every word, every syllable. They're not mincing their words. They're not stuttering. They're not stumbling. They mean everything they say. I said what they don't realize now is that you're probably going to give Caitlin Clark even more attention doing this. Probably attention that she didn't even have beforehand. But like I said, this is clearing the space of the so-called fans for the real ones to seep through. Yeah, notice how many times they kept using the word bullying. This woman was not being bullied. Exactly, Moochie. And I said that earlier, but they're not going to say that. They'll say that she deserved it. They're still mad at Angel Reese because of what happened when they was in college.
Trying to get these people to like her who've been mean to her, it's her complete betrayal of her fan base. People
betrayal of her fan base. You mean the white ones? See, it's like they want to say it, but they don't say it, but we pick up on it. We know exactly what they're saying. Because when you look at the comments, the only people that were upset and pissed were white people, both men and women. Well, Fat Lock doesn't count. He's some otherworldly figure.
For years and years, men have been complaining that ESPN doesn't cover sports. They cover critical race theory, and they're sick of it. People watch sports for escapism, to see competition. Caitlin Clark was an inspiration to so many of my friends' daughters. And for her to go out and say something like this, to try to, like you said, being like, oh, no. Black players need me as a white savior to bring them and highlight them. This racist equity system, all it does is divide Americans. And the result.
Oh, my God. If they don't go somewhere with that. Did he say that they needed her as a white savior? That's what y'all were saying. She's going to save the league. Only people watching it because of her, because they wasn't watching it otherwise. So this white woman's coming in, she's going to save the WNBA. Is that not what y'all was saying for the last few months? This is nothing but projection. You're literally putting and dumping out there your feelings, which you've already let people know, and then making it seem like it came from somewhere else.
Of this election in large part was Americans saying we're tired of that. We've had enough of
Yes.
this. And Caitlin Clark's going right back to that.
And DEI
That's
is
so right.
Oh, there it is. DEI. I was waiting for it.
DEI is a nonsense thing, but can you think of any profession in which it's more nonsense than athletic competition, in which there are statistics and points scored? It's such a preposterous thing to claim somebody has privilege in a competition of athletics.
One can argue that Caitlin Clark has privilege in the simple fact that Time named her Athlete of the Year. Because honestly, I don't see how she got it. And shout out to the fundraiser again for the 5. He says they are basically saying white people made you and you should be grateful we supported you until now. Exactly. Like I said, they do that with the black players all the time. They do that all the time. Now they're doing it with her. But like I said, one can argue the DEI thing because I don't think she should have been named Athlete of the Year by Time. I mean, think about it. Look at what we saw in the Olympics this year. All them gold medals that were won. You mean to tell me no one, there was a Super Bowl that was won. There was an NBA championship that was won. There was a Stanley Cup that was won. There was a World Series that was won. There was also a WNBA championship that was won, but her team got knocked out in the first round, but they still named her Athlete of the Year. And this is Athlete of the Year for everybody. It's not just for the women. It was overall, which means it could have only been one. I wish Time would have separated, like if they wanted to do it that way, just do a male Athlete of the Year and a female, but this was encompassing of all athletes. Since you want to bring up DEI, but we all know what DEI is code for.
And not to mention the fact that, you would never say something like that about the NBA, where there are hundreds of black superstars paid millions and millions of dollars. And by the way, that NBA subsidizes the entire WNBA.
Yeah,
right. So, and she's walking around talking about her white privilege. It's insane.
Well, here's the other thing, Duncan. Here's the other question. I don't remember Serena Williams apologizing for her blackness in tennis, which had been dominated mostly by whites. I don't remember.
Why does she have to apologize? Here comes Megyn Kelly to come swoop back in on her broomstick like the witch that she is to make these contradictory, nonsensical statements. And of course, she has to bring black athletes into it. Why would Serena Williams have to apologize for her blackness in the sport of tennis?
For Tiger Woods.
How did I know she was going to say Tiger Woods next? It's because they're talented. They sure did, Moochie. They sure did.
Apologizing for his blackness in the, PGA, which was dominated by whites. No one would even think of such a thing. They celebrated this new figure in sports who maybe didn't look like all the other figures they knew. They thought it was great. He was to be celebrated. That's how normal people have responded to Caitlin.
What they all had in common is that they fundamentally changed the sport and they brought casual fans into the sport to become lifelong fans of the sport. It didn't matter what the color of their skin was. That's what Tiger Woods did to golf. That's what Caitlin Clark did to the WNBA. That's the sort of excellence that should be celebrated. And it's so weird to me that we had that entire ideology fail at the ballot box a few weeks ago. And now she's like the last one to get the memo. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And now notice how they're trying to equate what that's the second time. I didn't catch it the first time, but that's the second time that they mentioned about the election. What does the election have to do with this? See, they told themselves again. I didn't pick up on it, but they just did. They feel like with Trump getting back in office, that's going to be the end of quote unquote wokeness. Wokeness is just going to fade into obscurity. We don't have to hear about wokeness no more. That is the end. Trump's back in office. He waved his wand and poof, be gone. Woke is gone. And now they're upset because they're, in their eyes, Caitlin Clark saying this is taking them a few pegs back to a position that they did not want to be in, which is peg one of their bastardized version of woke. And shout out to the Inspired Truth podcast for the $1.99 super sticker. I appreciate you. Shout out to the fundraiser. He says, didn't whites make it racial during all those black athletes such as Tiger Woods? They did. Man, y'all should have seen the stuff they said about Tiger Woods. Remember back in the PGA, like when he first started, they were asking him when he first, I think in his first, when he went to the first, I don't know what it's called, when he got his jacket, they said, is he going to bring collard greens and cornbread or something to the tour or something like that? Didn't they say something like that? These individuals got a short memory.
Imagine a world.
Yeah, thank you, the Masters, Stuns. Thank you.
Just we got to keep this going because it's like I'm so fired up about it. But imagine a world in which Serena and Venus take over tennis, they crush, and the thought pieces that are being written are, or the comments that they are required to say are, I just want to acknowledge that tennis was built on the back of white people like Chrissy Everett and Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King. And, I have black privilege in being here because of my whatever, however she wants to attribute that. It wasn't explained by Caitlyn either, exactly how her white privilege got her some more attention in the league. That's the theory by some racists, that the only reason we want to watch Caitlyn is because she's white and we can't stand watching the blacks, but we'll.
That's exactly what it is, Megyn. That's thank you for finally saying it. 7 minutes and 44 seconds in, that's exactly what is being said. Y'all don't actually say it verbatim, but that's what you're saying. That's what it is. Y'all know, and you made it so obvious. The league is dominated by black women. Caitlin Clark is considered a minority in that league. Yes, there are other white women in there, but they're still a minority. Even with 12 teams. That's exactly what it is. What else was it? Let me rewind that part again.
Tennis was built on the back of white people like Chrissy Everett and Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King. And, I have black privilege in being here because of my whatever, however she wants to attribute that. It wasn't explained by Caitlyn either, exactly how her white privilege got her some more attention in the league. That's the theory by some racists, that the only reason we want to watch Caitlyn is because she's white.
Exactly. And like Will X just said in the chat, because they never talked about the WNBA before, and they didn't. They didn't talk about the WNBA like that before Caitlin Clark came in. And the WNBA has been around since 1997, which all 5 of these individuals right here on this screen have been around long enough to remember. When did they ever talk about it before this? Never. Except for maybe to tear it down. But to talk about it in the tone that they have, I can't remember the last time that happened, if it ever happened. Trenton says, what is black privilege? That's a good question. And the thing is, they don't even know what it is. Just like they don't know what the true definition of woke is. But let them tell it, it's going to be some random wild about answer.
We can't stand watching the blacks, but we'll watch the white, which is absurd. She's by far the best. The stats prove it. That's why she's so popular.
Then why didn't she win the championship? Why did they get blown out in the first round of the playoffs? Why didn't she win a championship when she was in college? Look what Megyn is selling. Megyn is saying, oh, because she's the best. Oh yeah, listen, when PC says the blacks, like how she said it, you already know. You already know what time it is.
But in what world would we ever be comfortable saying to these black superstars, you better acknowledge the backs on whose, bodies tennis and golf and whatever white sport you can think of was built? I mean, it's an absurdity. It's racist on its face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the thing that really strikes me, if you think about Time Magazine, they don't care about sports. It's a religious tract for the left-wing lunacy in this country. And
Yet they again did not have anything to say about Trump being named Person of the Year. They didn't have this mindset either when he got named Person of the Year back in 2016 either. But they're so upset because Caitlin Clark said she's acknowledging the privilege she has and that the WNBA was built on the backs of Black women. Those two things, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what pissed them off more. Her saying that the WNBA was built off of the backs of Black women, or the fact that she has privilege, or if it's a combination of both.
And what they care about is driving their politics forward. There are thousands of athletes who have had great years that they could highlight if they cared about highlighting a top athlete. Caitlin Clark is one of them. But this story and naming her really strikes me as something that was negotiated between her PR agent and Time Magazine, where the agreement was she would say what the left wanted to hear. And in exchange, she's named athlete.
Well, this is the...
So now they're saying she had a battery put in her back to say those things, and that she probably didn't actually mean it, but because she has to appease the left, quote unquote, or the blacks, that's why she got on the cover. And shout out again, the fundraiser says if anything, Wilt and Bill Russell made the NBA. And you know what's so crazy? They'll come back and say, well, who made the basketball? His name was Spalding, and Spalding wasn't Black. They're gonna try to have a one-up somewhere.
This is part of the sports culture, and it has been here for the last 5 or 6 years, that these are the kind of things that you get into when you do these sort of quote unquote mainstream pieces. But I think there's something that's much larger than all of this. And one of the reasons why we're so irritated about it is this election, you saw huge participation and definitive in how they came down amongst Gen X and older millennials. And one of the big pieces of that, in my view, is that we all kind of grew up in a social atmosphere where you just didn't think of people in white buckets and black buckets. And like all my heroes were young Black athletes. And I never thought about that.
Yeah, when I watched Family Matters, it wasn't like, oh, I'm watching the Black sitcom.
What are the odds he mentions Family Matters in the live that I did on Jaleel White on Saturday was about Jaleel White saying that Family Matters was overlooked by the Black community because it didn't tell hood stories. And this, I think, was recorded after that. Yes, Miss Nisi, Family Matters.
Yeah.
You know, like you never thought about that as a kid.
Like the Cosby Show.
Cosby Show.
Oh, Lord, now they done brought up the Cosby Show, but these are the same ones going after Bill Cosby the last few years, saying he was this, that, and the third. Don't you just love whenever they say something anti-Black, they try to save themselves by saying all the Black stuff that they watched or listening to growing up? I watched the Cosby Show. I watched Fresh Prince. I watched Family Matters. I listened to Pop. I listened to Biggie. Who else? I listened to LL Cool J. I listened to Snoop. I had the Chronic album. This is the definition of I have Black friends. You know what? Scratch that. I have a Black friend, because it's not friends, it's never plural. I have a Black friend. See, there you go, Patricia. My best friend is Black.
You're like, right. Yeah, you weren't like, oh man, well, let's watch the Black show tonight. Like, It just never had, that's not how we grew up. And somehow time over the last 10 years, all of that changed.
Are they going to sit here and make it seem like, okay, let's do a timeline here, y'all. And shout out to Fundraiser just killing game tonight with these super chats. I appreciate it. So they mentioned Cosby Show. They mentioned Family Matters. So we got a show both two shows that came out in the 80s. And they were saying, we didn't just watch, a Black show. No one said something like that. Do you know what was going on 10, 20, 30 plus years before that? Does anybody know what was going on in the 60s and the 50s, part of the 70s? I swear, when they tell the story of history, especially our history, it is to be damned. It is to be condemned.
And it
You said Living Single. I bet they, of course, no, they don't. Of course, they never heard of Living Single. They heard of Friends, though, which Friends copied the formula of Living Single.
took people a while to try to figure out how and why and what they could do about it. In this election, they finally said, fuck you. We are not doing this anymore. We are not going to discriminate people. We are not going to evaluate their character or their worth based on.
Whoa. Time out, flag on the play. Did this dude just say, and this goes back to what I said earlier, are you sitting as this dude on the far left? Ironically, but if you flipped it, he's on the far right. Did he just say that this election, in so many words, absolved racism? That there's now balance in the force, like this is Star Wars? Have they not seen what people have been saying on X in particular since November the 5th? And shout out to Daryl for subscribing to the channel. I mean, right, Patricia, just sitting up here straight capping. Their nickname is Captain America.
On their skin color. We're not doing any of that anymore.
Yes, you are. You're still doing it. You're doing it now. The best thing they could have done was to not even say anything about this at all, but they couldn't help themselves. I didn't even know that Caitlin Clark had even said what she had said until I saw people like them make a big fuss about it. If they didn't say anything, I would have gone weeks, maybe forever, not even knowing what she said because I didn't care to read it. But now here we are.
The extent that EI and all of those people that want to push that agenda are doing that to us, we're going to throw your asses out. And that's exactly what they did. And so now you get the sports agents and all this stuff that apparently didn't get the memo. Mm-hmm. And
that's right.
My bet is, Megan, I think you're talking about like a 22-year-old young woman who's sort of thrust into this cultural icon. I bet 5 years from now, she's going to wish she had that back. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that. I don't think that.
I mean, right now, what we know about Caitlin Clark is she's reportedly dating some very, very woke leftist. But what?
Oh, now Caitlin Clark's boyfriend is about to catch a stray because of his political leanings. Apparently, Caitlin Clark is dating this world leftist. Wait, I gotta rewind it. That was kind of funny.
5 years from now, she's gonna wish she had that back.
Nah, Patricia, her boyfriend, Caitlin Clark's boyfriend, is a white man.
And I don't think that. I don't think that.
I mean, right now, what we know about Caitlin Clark is she's reportedly dating some very, very woke leftist.
Oh, she said woke. I thought she said world. She said woke leftist. Nah, Moochie, Caitlin Clark's boyfriend is a whole white dude. Like white, like Lily White. She said apparently Caitlin Clark is dating some woke leftist. Yeah, church, and people called them out on it. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. Megyn Kelly didn't say nothing about it because she probably agreed with it.
But what we know about her is she liked Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala.
How did I know they was going to bring this up? I mentioned it earlier, but she brought it up here.
Harris. So she seems to be telegraphing something about her politics, even though she doesn't often tweet or post about politics. It seems pretty clear.
Oh, but if she liked the post that was about Donald Trump, Megyn Kelly wouldn't have said a thing. We know they tell on themselves all of the time. Sometimes it's best to not just say anything, but like I said, they cannot help themselves. Exactly, Moochie. What is this is like the third time they brought up the election. I don't know why the election has been. We're removed from the election right now.
She was in that lane hoping Kamala Harris got elected, though when asked about it, she tried to play it off as she was just, really in favor of people informing themselves about the issues and making sure they vote. Okay, sure. There isn't a Trump voter in the world that would have liked the Taylor Swift endorsement of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
There it is. There it is. Thank you, Megyn, again, because this is the second time you did it. There was probably some other times, but the second time I caught it. You wanted Caitlin Clark to be something that she is not. And you are upset because she isn't. And y'all threw all your chips on this woman because y'all thought you had one, but you didn't.
So she definitely is a Democrat and probably a leftist who believes this crap. I have to.
Oh, so now because she said what she said, she's a leftist and a Democrat. You don't know this woman's political affiliation. She could very well be an independent.
I think she believes in this crap.
All right, I think that might have been the end of. Okay, that was the end of it, y'all. Woo! Y'all, we made it. Put some clap emojis and applause emojis in the chat. We made it to the end, y'all.